Good morning, everyone, and welcome to a new webinar of Lab9 Pro. My name is Zeno Verschaven, Marketing Manager for Lab9 Pro, and today we have the very nice announcement of our new webinar with our colleague Jordi, who is our Apple Solution Architect. Today on our program is the journey of trusted access with Jamf. Most of you know what Jamf is, know it as a mobile device solution, MDM solution, but there is many more. And in times like these, about security and threats that's come by to our companies and the amount of devices we have in our companies, we have to think about the data protection. And that is the journey we're going to tell you today. That is the story we're going to tell you today. And that's together with Jordi. The webinar of today is recorded and can be watched again on our YouTube channel of Lab9 Pro, where you can see all our other webinars as well from Adobe and Microsoft, for example. I would like to start with the presentation of Shorty. We're going to end with a few questions. So if you have any questions, just drop your question in our Q&A, and then we can answer them live together with Jordi. Jordi, I think the word is yours. Go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. As Zeno said, my name is Jordi, and I am part of the services team at Lab9 Pro. And I'm here today to tell you about trusted access with Jamf. Now, before we get started, I wanted to make a couple of disclaimers. First and foremost, the slides that I'll be using today are provided to me by Jamf. Please do not copy them or redistribute them. Second, whilst I will be talking exclusively about Jamf in this webinar, we always work with our customers to integrate any solutions that they might already have. So, for example, when I reference a security solution of Jamf, we will work together with you to integrate your existing security solution. Last but not least, Lab9 is a Jamf Elite partner. So we have people in-house who are certified to help you with your Jamf instance or manage it for you if you so desire. But we also have certified Microsoft people in-house to do exactly the same with Intune. So if you have that very hybrid environment, or you have a couple of Macs that you want to integrate in your existing Intune environment, we can help with that as well. We have one objective today, right? We want to manage and secure our Apple devices at work. And how do we want to do that? We want to do that whilst keeping the devices enterprise secure, consumer simple, and privacy focused. Now, Jamf is really one of the only companies that offers a complete management and security solution for an Apple first, Apple best environment. So from zero touch deployment to app management, the self-service app, identity and access management, threat prevention, zero trust network access, and much more, they have a solution for each and every one of those points, and we will be covering them today. The way Jamf brings this to market is by what they call trusted access. And trusted access is not a solution you can buy. It's sadly not something that we can sell you. It's rather an outcome that you can achieve by combining several puzzle pieces together. So we want to ensure that only authorized users, so people within your organization, enrolled devices, so devices that are your property, which are then secure and compliant, can access your sensitive data. And as you see on the left, we have that puzzle image in there, and we'll cover each of those puzzle pieces individually. And the beauty of that approach is that you don't have to do that all at once. You can really do it piece by piece. So let's start with enrollment. Enrolling devices into management makes access more trusted. And for those who don't know, Apple has a very well-built platform called Apple Business Manager, or Apple School Manager for education, which allows you to enroll into that platform as an organization and add us, Lab9 Pro, as a reseller. Then on our turn, we can assign devices to you, and those devices can check with Apple if they need to enroll into management upon activation. How does that look? If we take this MacBook, for example, we select our country, we select our language, we connect it to the internet, and we get a screen saying that the device is property of an organization. We cannot skip this step, and as soon as we click enroll, it installs various processes. Once that's done, it continues to the setup assistant, and the device functions as normal. If we look at that again on this iPad, we do exactly the same. So we connect it to the internet. The device will again check with Apple and indicate that it's property of an organization and that it needs to enroll into management. And what we add here is what's called enrollment customization. So we can add additional panes into that setup assistant. In this case, we prompt an acceptable use policy, or we ask the end user to sign in with their IDP. In our case, that is Microsoft, but that can be Google, can be Okta, can be something custom. Once we're through that, we can add additional panes if we so desire. In this example, we will show how the setup assistant continues. But this is very customizable, right? We can add pictures, we can add videos, we can skip it all together if you want. Doesn't really matter. So let's scroll through that. Let's acknowledge it. And then continue once more. And then the device will do exactly the same as the Mac did. So it will install its configuration before it continues the setup assistant. In this example, we will prompt a secure passcode policy. So once the end user gets to the passcode screen, he won't be able to set a 4-digit passcode, or he won't be able to skip that passcode, which makes the device already much more secure out of the box. If we get to that screen, as you see, there's no option to skip it or to set an easy passcode. Now, this is all fine and dandy for organizationally owned devices, but we see that more and more companies are interested in bring your own device enrollments. And Jamf does have a solution for that. So Jamf supports the Apple user enrollment workflow using managed Apple accounts. And that allows the end user to log in to the device on their personal iPhone or iPad. And that creates a cryptographic split on the device, separating the work data from the personal data. So how does that look? Much like the other enrollment, but it happens in the settings app. We sign in with our managed Apple account. It will loop back to our IDP. So in our case, that's Microsoft again, but it can be whatever IDP that you're using. And once the user is through this, they will see a secondary Apple ID in or Apple account in their settings app. And this is a visible representation of that cryptographic split, so which is important. You, as an organization, will be able to push apps to this device. You will be able to set certain restrictions, but you won't be able to look into that personal partition. So you can't see what apps the end user has installed. You cannot erase the device. If you remove the device from management, only the company data will be removed. And likewise, if the customer signs out of their work account, it will simply destroy the work partition and not touch their personal data. So once our devices are enrolled, we want to automate various things. Automation supports management and security efficiency. Now, Jamf does offer multiple MDM solutions, but the one that we install the most is called Jamf Pro. Jamf Pro offers that automated zero-touch deployment. It can configure and manage your devices. It has a very intensive inventory and fleet organization. It supports app lifecycle management, and it has the self-service app. So if we take a closer look to each of those things, in a classic environment, you would purchase your devices from a vendor, and typically you would pre-configure them or image them if it's at all possible, store them somewhere, and then usually IT picks them up and sets them up together with the end user. This is very time consuming and requires IT work for each and every device that's being deployed. What we want to achieve is called zero-touch deployment, where we just hand the box to the end user, they open it, and it installs itself. This is a modern deployment workflow with as little or as much interaction as you desire. It's fully customizable, and it's available on all Apple platforms, so from Mac to iPad to even Apple Watch and Vision Pro. If we start with that onboarding, if we look at the right side of the screen, we have an example enrollment flow, which pre-configures the device. It installs some security agents. And when that's done, it leaves the end user in the self-service app. Now, you should see the self-service app as your own app store. It's rebrandable to your liking, so we can choose the icon, we can add a banner, we can select which apps or scripts or whatever we put in there, and also customize what the end user sees when they click on it. It's also available on iOS, but there it's only for apps. And we at Lab9 Pro specifically add a lot of troubleshooting steps into that self-service app so we can empower our end users to resolve issues themselves without having to contact IT. The onboarding workflow that was on display here is one example of how we can do this. Another example is that we do it during the setup assistant. So if we here start our device, before it gets to the user creation, it will already install some files. Um, we customize this with our customers every time we do a setup, so we can adjust it to your liking. Jamf Pro supports app lifecycle management. So, of course, we can acquire licenses and push out apps from the App Store, but we can also use the Jamf app catalog to push out a lot of other apps that aren't available in the App Store. Think about the Adobe apps, for example. We also have some third-party tools to our disposal, such as Installmator, which allows us to install even more apps without having to package them ourselves. A strong point of Jamf Pro is the intelligent fleet organization, where in other MDM solutions you have to rely on blueprints or device groups. With Jamf Pro, you have hundreds of criteria which you can base your targets on. You can be very specific on what devices that you want to target. Once you have those devices in scope, you can distribute profiles, execute policies, send commands, or just report on them. And of course, we still have those static groups for VIP devices and beta users. There's a lot more that can be done with an MDM. For the sake of time, I won't be covering all of it, but if you would have questions, please do feel free to ask them at the end of the webinar. One last thing that I wanted to highlight, and it's not really part of the automation part of things, but it is included with your Jamf Pro license, so it's suitable to mention it here, is Jamf Remote Assist. It's pretty much a remote assist tool that's built into Jamf, which allows you to take over the screen of an end user. Now, it's fully transparent, so the end user gets a pop-up requesting if someone can watch their screen. Once they accept that, a new browser window opens, and you can control the screen, and it does pretty much everything you expect from such a solution, right? It supports multiple monitors, remote file transfers, sending commands. It's not a team viewer replacement by any means, but for your basic support stuff, it does more than a good job. So next is security, and we've split up security in two parts. First, we want to secure our devices by ensuring that user and data are safe, and later we will prevent threats on them. The security product of Jamf is called Jamf Protect. And yes, it does do endpoint protection, but it does much more than that. It will help you do a baseline of your devices for compliance reasons. So if you have to be compliant with a certain security standard, we can check on that. And then you can use Jamf Pro to actually remediate any failures that you have there. You can configure external device restrictions. So you can be very specific on which thumb drives that the user can use or that they only have read access to. You can configure custom analytics, so you can be very precise on what info that you want from those devices. An example, I don't know why you would do this, but if you want a notification every time someone takes a screenshot, you can configure that. All of this is purpose-built for Apple, so it offers same-day support for new OS releases, and it uses those native frameworks, so it's a great experience for the end user. You have vulnerability management. So you have those CVE reportings built in for vulnerabilities in the OSs, but also in the apps installed on the devices. And Jamf Protect offers automatic risk elevation. So as soon as a device becomes a high risk or a critical state, you can then automate certain tasks with Jamf Pro. And everything that Jamf Protect does is very transparent to the end user, so they will get a notification telling them what's wrong and if they can resolve it themselves. Lastly, you also have endpoint telemetry. So the Mac has a very extensive logging system, but those logs are stuck on the devices, right? And yes, you can script your way out of that, but with Jamf Protect, you can stream those logs to a SIEM of choice. So think about Microsoft Sentinel or Splunk. You can be very specific on which logs you want to target, or you can just throw everything up there as well. We do integrate fully with Microsoft Device Compliance and also Google Beyond Corp for that matter. So you then use Jamf Pro to do the compliance check, and you can leverage those smart groups which you talked about to be very specific on what a compliant device is. Once Jamf does that check, it reports back to Entra with the device is or is not compliant, and then your basic conditional access policies are enforced. Funny thing is that the reporting of Jamf is much faster than if Intune does it itself. So you have an instant report on your device compliance state. So now that our devices are secure, we want to prevent threats from happening on them, right? We want to maintain device and network integrity. And like I said, Jamf Protect does offer those those malware protections. So if you try and open a malicious file or a malicious app, it will be blocked. But it does much more than that. We do the same on mobile. So if we download a malicious app on our iPhone in this case, and we try to open it, um, the app will be blocked. It will be automatically removed. The user gets a notification indicating that something went wrong, and we can add additional triggers on that device. So in our example, we did something easy, we changed the background, but you can send any remote command to that device in this case. And the mobile protection is also available on iPadOS, but also Android. So if you have a mixed fleet, you can use the same licenses there. Jamf Protect offers web threat prevention, so it can help your end user fend off phishing attacks. And you can also use it to enforce an acceptable use policy or on mobile devices, a data policy. Um, so if you block phishing websites, for example, you get a block page telling you what went wrong on that device. The end user will not know that the protections are running until something is blocked. It's very lightweight on the system, and the users can worry a little bit less about cyber threats. This also works on mobile. So if you get a text message with a phishing link in it, you try to access it, it is blocked. You get that notification, and they know what went wrong. In this case, this wouldn't elevate the risk profile of that device because the threat was actively blocked. If you do the same with that content filter, we can block gambling websites, for example. And if we then try to navigate to gambling.com, the site will be blocked. And the same thing will happen. So the end user will get a block page and a notification telling something went wrong. On mobile, you can also do this for data caps. So you could set a forceful data cap of, for example, 5 gigs on roaming, or you can block certain websites abroad as well. So you could block streaming websites, for example. The next piece of our puzzle is identity. So we want to simplify access to your resources by integrating with your identity provider. And the identity product of Jamf is called Jamf Connect. Now, in our example, we integrate with Entra again, but we can integrate with Google or Okta or a custom IDP. So how does that look? This is a Mac that's booted up for the first time. There's no user on that device, and we sign in with our credentials, and the user will be created just in time. We can actually check our IDP for certain groups and allow certain people to be created as an admin and others as a standard user, which is not displayed in this demo, but you could also enforce multi-factor authentication on the login screen. And you can additionally integrate other things such as a Kerberos ticket to then automatically mount your file shares or printers. Like I said, we can select which users are created as a standard user and as an admin, but we don't want those users to contact IT every time that they want to add a printer, for example. In this example, the user is a standard user, so they cannot add a printer. And in Jamf Protect, you have a menu bar app which allows you to do privilege elevation. So the end user can actually request admin access, and then they need to give up a reason why they need that access, which is logged, and you can use Jamf Protect to stream those logs to your SIEM if you so desire. Once that's done, they get granted admin access for a certain amount of time, and then they can install their printer. This is very customizable as well, so we could fend off those elevations by a login again to your IDP, so only certain people can use that privilege elevation. And also the timing is customizable. So in this example, it's 7 minutes, I guess. You could set it to an hour, more, less, doesn't really matter. So let's recap that. You have that account provisioning on the login screen, modern authentication supporting MFA. The password stays in sync with your identity provider, and you have that privilege elevation at your disposal. And the last piece of our puzzle is access, right? We want to access sensitive apps via zero trust network access. And the access part is still part of Jamf Connect. So Zero Trust Network Access is a next-gen VPN purpose-built for Apple, and it works with any ownership model. So if it's a bring your own device or a company-owned device, it will work exactly the same. If you do that quick demo, it's a very easy example. We try to access Outlook, and the access is restricted because our security agent isn't running. If you then open that security agent, we will have to sign in with our IDP. So it checks if we have access to the resource that we want to access, which looks good. The security agent also indicates that our device is secure. And since both of those conditions are met, if we close out of this window and try to reopen it, we get access to our mailbox. Now, this integrates with most SaaS applications out there. So think about your Office apps, Adobe apps, Dropbox, Google Drive, Box.com, the like. But it also integrates with on-premise resources, where a traditional VPN would grant you access to a segment of the network. Usually it's not just one specific resource. With Zero Trust Network Access, you can specify which people can access which server on your network. And that's it, right? We covered all the pieces of our puzzle. So now we have gained trusted access. Um, so we have everything required to create a foundation for success with Apple in your organization. But Jamf doesn't stop there, right? Jamf has a very fleshed out API, which we can leverage to integrate in your existing systems. They have a marketplace with hundreds of free and paid solutions that build on top of the capabilities of Jamf Pro. And they have industry workflows available for you. Think about education, aviation, healthcare that you can start using right away. Jamf is Apple first, Apple best. The Jamf community is one of the largest Apple communities in the world, but they integrate very well with Microsoft, Google, and others. And with that, that was my presentation, and I'm open for questions.
Thank you very much, Jordi, for the presentation. And thank you to tell us the story with the several pieces for trusted access. I think it's quite clear, but maybe there are some questions from the audience this morning. I received already a question. That's from Owen. And the question is, if a user request elevation for a printer install, but does something different, tricking the admin, such as installing software, will that be notified somehow because you receive the pop-up?
Yes and no. So Jamf Connect will log every admin action that was on that device. You have to capture those logs. So you have to use either Jamf Protect or something else to take a look at what happens. But every action that the admin takes is logged, and it has tamper prevention. So if you would have a very smart end user that goes into terminal and starts going wrecking havoc with terminal commands, that will be logged as well.
Okay, I think it's clear. Owen, if you have an extra question or remark, just put it in our Q&A. During the webinar, Jody, you were also speaking about the managed Apple IDs, the managed Apple accounts. Is it then you have two Apple IDs on your devices? It's in the bring your own device parts of it, the story?
Yes. So when people are using their personal devices, they are already logged in with their own Apple ID. We don't really want to change that because all their data is on there. Once you enroll that device via the BYOD enrollment method, they get a separate Apple account specifically for work. We usually don't use that except for logging in, but that grants access to that work partition, and then we can push apps to that or install profiles to that.
Yeah. Okay. And then maybe for the user itself who uses iPhone or his Mac, in the BYD story, like for example, it's weekend, and for I think for many users, if they have a profile on their iPhone, they are thinking, "Oh no, my work is watching on my telephone." How we can inform, yeah, employees about that story of that extra profile on the device? Like for example, they're on holiday on a weekend.
That's purely communication, right?
Indeed.
So Apple has a very well documented piece on their website telling what a company can see and cannot see in that regard.
Mm.
But for example, my phone is enrolled into our Jamf instance. I cannot see which personal apps I have installed. I cannot see when the device is active. I cannot query the location. But it's something that you need to discuss with your employees, and communication is very important about that.
Yeah, I think, yeah, indeed. That is also the story we did here at Lab9 Pro. We are using as well the Trusted Access story here with Jamf Pro, Jamf Connect, and Jamf Protect, of course. It's also Jamf Protect here at
Yep.
Lab9 Pro, indeed.
We use everything.
Everything, indeed. And actually, as a user, it doesn't, yeah, remark that it's something happening. Oh, just when installing or updating software, then I have the pop-up, of course, and I have to request the admin thing. Um, I receive also a second question. Can it prevent from resetting a device by the user? And so if Jamf is active on the device, can you prevent by resetting the device by the user?
Yes and no. You can configure a profile saying that you cannot use the erase all content settings button on your device. But if the end user really wants to wipe their device, there's always a possibility. If you have a secondary Mac, for example, you can connect it and just wipe it that way. That's something that you cannot hardly prevent. But pushing out that profile, restricting access to erasing the device is certainly possible.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, indeed. So also, if you have the profile, you can wipe it from your iPhone, and then it's gone.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, that's possible. Then maybe your opinion. We were talking about Jam Protect. You highlighted as well Sentinel, or Microsoft Defender, for example. How we can, yeah, place it into the charts of securing your Mac. You have Jamf Protect, but then you have the other shell with Sentinel. How we see
Yeah.
that? What's your
So
opinion?
at Lab 9, we use two security agents. We have been using Sentinel 1 for quite a long time and we don't want to replace it. But we added Jamf Protect to our devices to add, to use the other possibilities that it has, right? Um, there is a difference in what malware is detected by the solutions. So Jamf has their own team, Jamf Threat Labs, that looks exclusively at threats on Apple devices. And you can see in the update logs, for example, of Mac OS updates that they actively find vulnerabilities and Apple patches them. Sometimes faster than Sentinel. We have a lot of customers, especially the larger enterprises, that are using multiple security agents, and they can work together very nicely. Same thing with Defender. You can push out Microsoft Defender to have the benefits there in your Entra tenant, but also use Jamf Protect for the logging and for the compliancy status.
Okay, that's clear. Maybe some side note. With all your experience, Jody, you have a lot of experience in the Apple world, in the world of Jamf. Um, Back in the days, we didn't have Jamf. We had a lot of configuration needs for Apple devices. Now we use Jamf. In your practical thing, how many time you win if you use Jamf? Because I think that's important for the persons who follow this webinar today.
So we still actively do pre-installs for our customers. So if we have a customer who purchases a Mac with us that doesn't have an MDM solution, we have colleagues that have to pre-configure them. They need to call out to the customer, ask what needs to be installed on it, and that's a manual action that can take anywhere from half an hour to 2 hours per device. Plus, then we need to go out to the end user and help them set it up. With an MDM solution like we have, I don't need to touch any device that goes to the end user. Yes, I do have my maintenance work. I need to make sure that everything keeps working, but it takes much less time than having to configure each device manually every time.
Yeah. So I think with using Jamf, the ROI is quite high.
Absolutely.
And you win time and you can focus on other things by protecting data and things in your own company. So as an IT manager or IT employee in your company, you can win time. You're
Absolutely.
relaxed. Maybe we can
Well,
maybe we can take a chair, drink a cup of coffee, maybe. Um, okay. For now, I have all the questions actually. I didn't receive any extra questions, so maybe we have some few minutes. Just drop them in the Q&A, and then we'll answer them right away. And maybe, yeah, maybe you can drop it in the Q&A. How do you see trusted access in your company? Is it possible, or can you maybe struggle with some things? Just put it in the Q&A, and we can help you, of course. Also, with a dedicated team we have here at Lab9 Pro, we can focus on that. We can help you with the story in your company, of course, with the experience we have. And as an elite partner for Jamf, we have all the experience to do that. Um, I think we are done. I don't know, Joe, do you want to add something in your story?
the only thing that I might add, since we saw that there are a lot of education related people in the webinar, Jamf does offer their own security SKU specifically for education, which is called Jamf Safe Internet. It does a little bit less about the trusted access part. So the actual access to certain applications is not there, but you can, for a lower cost, have that phishing threat prevention and stuff in place on your iPads as well.
Okay, brilliant. I think then it's everything covered. We have the SMB parts, enterprise parts, and education parts. We are focusing with Lab9 Pro. And of course, if you have any questions, please contact the team of Lab9 Pro. You can send us an email, you can give us a call, or you can react on our website in the contact form. And then we will give you some feedback immediately or as fast as we can to get started with the Jamf part. And I hope for you guys it was a very interesting webinar. It's gonna be not the last webinar we're gonna do with Jamf. We are focusing very hard with it because we want to help you as an IT department with the solutions we offer with Lab9 Pro because we are convinced you can win time with those solutions and you can focus on the important part, and that is securing your company and securing data and the traffic of data in your company because yeah, that's a very big threat at these days. So that's a important one. I think we're gonna end.
Yep, absolutely.
Perfect. Then I just want to thank everyone who followed this webinar this morning. Thank you for the questions. Thank you, Jordi, for the presentation, the story you told me, told us about the journey of trusted access. And we see each other next time.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. See you. Bye-bye.
See you.